As long as you guys provide me with nothing to include, then it's much easier. So good job, everyone. Are we ready to rock and roll?
Do you want to switch me to host, Amanda?
Yeah, hold on one second.
Okay.
Okay, the live stream has gone live.
Okay.
Okay, welcome to the January.
We haven't
23.
started the webinar, Bill.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm
There's
making
two things.
Making Phyllis the host. There we go.
Free cold brew.
All right, we're going to be starting the webinar now. Hi, Nick. You can start, Bill.
All right, welcome to the January 2023 meeting of the Clifton Town Council, being held in accordance with the agenda that we have sent out. For council members' edification, I did get an email from one of our advisors that we're going to be looking at the ongoing emergency declaration, and we'll end on that as the rest of the world move forward with that. But I know it's January in the middle of winter, and it's like 60 degrees. But you know, at some point we may be revisiting this again, as we have discussed. But for now, we are meeting by Zoom as we have been, in accordance with the declaration we made. Moving into the agenda is pretty short tonight, and we'll try to move through it quickly. So we'll start with the clerk's report.
The draft minutes were circulated and I received one revision for one typo.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as drafted with the revised typo.
Second.
This motion a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions? Okay, motion carries. What else?
For the golf cart registrations, we're just under 50% registered from last year, and 2 notices have been sent out. So everyone who has submitted has received their blue tag. If you see anybody operating a golf cart in town that doesn't have a blue sticker, please remind them to contact me so that we can make sure that their registration is up to date. If I haven't received certain registrations by, I'm going to say January 15th, I'm going to send out notices to those individuals, letting them know that they are not allowed to operate their golf carts in town until they have submitted the required paperwork and fee.
Okay, sounds reasonable. Better than the days where we worked on the car registration. Remember that?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, half of the golf cart people, it's unfortunate, but a lot better than it used to be. Okay, anything else?
That's it.
Thank you. Treasurer's report.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Happy to be back. Not 100%, but still rocking. I'm working on the Homes Tour report, and I owe you guys the Haunted Trail report, which is overdue. But of course, there's quite a few deposits came through November. I was just texting with Phyllis that I'm going to have it done during this meeting as I keep on rocking through. We did receive the fire program 15K that we get every year, and it's always a struggle. It finally came in, so we'll kick that out tomorrow, cut the check today. And other than that, the financials will also be posted by the end of this meeting as well. There's not Nothing from left field right now, just keeping up with any of the reimbursements that come through email. And then finally, we're still month to month on speaking with the bank about the investments. I don't expect us to be making any choices to a new 12-month CD of any sort until probably Q2, Q3, considering the market right now. That's it from me.
I think you're on mute, Bill.
Council members, thanks, Nick, for giving us a report. Council members, any questions, anything else? Okay. Citizens' remarks. I understand that we had one request. It was Amy Leister wanted to address the council. I don't know if Amy's on. Phyllis, do you know?
I don't see Amy listed unless she's the phone number that is listed.
How would we know? What's the phone number?
It's a 254 phone number.
54.
I can allow them to talk and we can find out.
Anyway, yeah. Okay.
Can you hear
That is
me?
correct. That's the
Hi,
one.
is this Amy?
It is.
Yes, this is
Okay.
Amy.
Okay, you can talk with the council now.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I just wanted to bring, I get some guidance, I guess, from the town, because I was told back in August, actually, that the town would have to complete a review of revisions that the county made to my rough grading plan, my plan for just a simple outdoor horse riding ring. It's not covered, anything like that. It's literally just sand, basically, in the ground, leveling the ground and sand. So I began this process back in the summer of 21 when I moved in here. November of 21, I submitted the rough grading plan and application to the ARB for some new fencing. The ARB promptly approved that. But the planning commissioner and Scott Peterson and the engineering firm that I had to hire to do the rough grading plan went back and forth until about the 1st of February then of 2022, when Mayor, you approved a revised plan of development and use permit and granted a preliminary, at that time you granted a preliminary use permit for construction. So then Fairfax County engineers, my engineers, was submitted to Fairfax County. I took it with all of the comments and questions from Clifton and Scott Peterson and had a meeting in August to clarify concerns and answer some questions about definition of RPA. We got till the end of December here now, and it's finally been approved, thank God, by Fairfax County. And I have a land disturbance and stormwater permit that's been issued. So I sent this to, it was approved on the 13th of December, sent this to the Planning Commission and didn't get a response. So that's why I wanted to address the town today, because obviously this has been going on for quite a while. And it's a very frustrating process that's not covered in the town's code at all, because again, the town has preliminary approved, but now I'm being told that because the county has required some changes to the plan, that the town has to review once again the county's revisions, and then I might have to revise things again, which I don't understand how that would even be possible at this point. It's like this constant do loop back and forth between the county and the town. So I guess bring all this up to say, I would like to know when the town might complete the review of the county's revisions to my plan, first of all. And then second of all, again, this frustrating, ridiculous process, really, I hope gets fixed start of a new year for anybody else that's going through a process where they have to get something approved by the planning commission of the town of Clifton, and then have to go to Fairfax County, but then if there's any changes, have to go back to Clifton. When does it stop, I guess? And this process needs to be explained somewhere in a rule somewhere. That's it.
And thank you. Question for Kathy. Would you like me to initially respond? Do you want to respond either way? You're on mute.
I think we can both respond. The first I heard of the approval was when I got the email on December 23rd. And as I mentioned to Amy, unfortunately, I've been sick since then, plus the holidays. So Amanda and I both looked at it today. Apparently there've been revisions. Unfortunately, we don't know what those revisions were. So as we told her, we've reached out to Scott Peterson to compare the two plans, namely what the county's approved and what the town has approved, and also reached out to the county to see if we can get a quick primer on exactly what the changes have been. So right now, we don't really know if more approvals are needed or exactly what's needed until we know what the changes were. As far as the process taking a while, to be honest, the town's process went very quickly. I can't speak for the county's process. The county's had this for the last year. And the only question I have ever gotten from anybody, whether it's been Amy or the county or anyone else, was from her engineering firm back last March, that the county had raised a question they didn't know the answer to, and Amanda and I promptly responded. After that, we certainly had no idea, or I had no idea, if there were any difficulties with the county, and Ms. Loyster never approached me with any difficulties. So all I can say is, having just found out about the approval, that there have been apparently some changes on December 23rd, given the holidays, we'll certainly do our best to address and find out what those changes were and find a quick way forward, hopefully within, by the end of this week or early next week at the best. So we have some guidance to give. As far as this being an unusual situation, I gather it was an unusual situation for the county. And while I don't know all the details, I can only surmise that unfortunately, this is one of the few pieces of property in town that's requested a plan of development where there's simultaneously both a floodplain and a resource protection area. So obviously that's really complicated things. So as I think everyone knows, given the fact this was approved in fairly short order after its submission, why the county was so long in approving is anyone's guess, but certainly these factors may have been a complicating issue. Bill, I assume, if you have anything to add, you can add, or Amanda may know more details since Amanda normally deals with the county.
I'd only summarize, Kathy, is it fair to say that what the town approves and what the county approves should be consistent? And
right, they need to be primarily the same thing, unless of course, the changes are just not that material or not that significant, in which case they're not going to prompt another review. They'll just be incorporated into the town's plans. But at this point, we just don't know that.
And hence my choice of words, consistent, right? They don't have to be identical, because there might be things the county has that just aren't relevant to us. But where stuff that is relevant to our review, they do need to be consistent. And
Right.
We know they change stuff, we just don't know what they changed.
Exactly.
So if we knew, it's like when you're doing a review of a legal document or any document, and somebody changes it and they just give you the new document, you have to try to figure out somehow what's been changed. Or They can give you a red line and you can go, oh, well, here's what's been, oh, this looks fine, 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 no issues, okay? But when you just get the new clean version, the first thing you're trying to figure out is what's changed, because what you don't want to do is go through and do a brand new review from scratch. That would be a disservice to everyone. So to avoid that, we're trying to figure out what's different. And then once we know what's different, then we can look at whether what's different is material to what the town reviewed. I hope the answer is no. And if the answer is no, then there's nothing to do. If the answer is yes, then we have to make sure that whatever's changed is okay under our requirements and gets factored into our approval, and our approval gets updated to reflect that. But it starts with knowing what the differences are. Does that sound right, Kathy?
We need the red line, and I know Amanda's
Yeah.
already reached out to find the appropriate folks in the county that can give us that information.
Yeah. Okay, Amy, any?
Why can't you simply put both of the plans side by side and compare them? They're not very different at all. I've done that myself.
We're not engineers, Amy, and it's very easy for one of us to make a mistake. If you were going to ask me to look at two legal documents, being an attorney, I could do that without anyone's input. But given the fact these are basically engineering and land use matters, we're not experts in it. As you probably know, we're all volunteers here. Hence, we rely on the expertise of the county and the expertise of the hired town engineer. So we can't do that. We just simply don't have the knowledge to do that.
Well, I'd say that a little bit differently, which is we could hire a town attorney and we could hire a town engineer full-time. It would be expensive, and 98% of the year they would sit around doing nothing. Not very efficient, plus they wouldn't have other people to coordinate with, etc. if they work for us. I would expect the county, on the other hand, can support 100 engineers or who knows what, right? So for our purposes, we outsource that service. It's better for the person providing the service. It's better for us. It's more efficient for everyone. So we, in fact, do have a town engineer and we do have a town attorney, but we outsource that because it's a better way to go. So in this case, to look at the two drawings side by side, that's something the town engineer would look at, not me and not Kathy and not Amanda. And what we're saying is it'd be great if somebody took a highlighter and or a red pen and said, this is different, this is different, this is different. They may not even know. I don't know. But that's the first thing we have to do to avoid doing a brand new review, which I think would be terrible, to review the whole thing from scratch. We're trying to avoid that. So we just have to figure out what's different, and I hope whatever's different is not material. So as soon as we can find that out, away we go. Okay, so Amanda, Kathy, you're both working on that, right? Yes? Okay, thank you. All right, and hopefully it's the 3rd of January, so we're not too far into the month. Keep working on that. Thank you. Okay. All right. On to committee reports. Planning Commission. I know you have a Pat Klein thing, but you've also got a report. You're on mute. Still on mute.
I said we both have a report, and obviously part of that report is to request that we extend Pat Klein's term on the Planning Commission as the town council representative. So maybe we can just do that first so it doesn't get forgotten.
Okay, and I don't know, is that done for a 2-year term? What is the term?
The term is the standard 4-year term.
4-year term.
Unless Pat is no longer on the town council.
Okay, so,
in which case his term won't necessarily expire. But the town council always has the option of appointing someone from the town council to the planning commission.
I'll let you guys figure that out. So ordinarily, Pat's term on the planning commission expired a couple days ago.
Right.
New Year's Eve, 12/31/2022. And we would reappoint Pat to the planning commission for a term ending 12/31/2026.
Right.
I mean, that's okay with everybody. Pat seems pleased with it.
Don't ask him.
I make a motion that we
Do I
accept.
get to vote on this or I could abstain?
No,
You abstain. Because it's a huge, it's a self-interest one way or the other, whether you vote.
right.
Steve,
Yeah, I make a motion that we extend or give Pat a term of 4 years extension at the, on the planning commission.
Second.
okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Abstentions.
Abstain.
All right, done. Next.
The next item is the planning commission reviewed the application for a final use permit for construction of a pool and deck submitted by Matt and Kristen Hill at 12726 Clifton Heights Lane, Clifton. The preliminary construction use permit was issued January 4, 2022. The applicants have confirmed they've complied with the requirements of the preliminary use permit. Construction's complete. All necessary county inspections and permits have been obtained and submitted, and the ARB has confirmed construction was in accordance with the issued certificate of appropriateness. So the planning commission recommends a final use permit be issued.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the issuance of a final use permit for the construction of a pool and a deck at 12726 Clifton Heights Lane as recommended by the planning commission.
Second.
Okay, a motion and multiple seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. All right. Another exciting month at the planning commission. All right,
That's it.
great. But hey, I will say this. I remember when Amanda was working so hard to create a process to get these final use permits done, and it was so difficult. And now with all that hard work that's been done, we're seeing the fruits of Amanda's labors here, that we now have a fairly streamlined process for this. So thank you, Amanda. Kudos for that, and quite good. And, you know, I hear people periodically talk about process. I hear people talk about compliance, things like that. And I think back, Steve, you can probably think about this 20 years ago, what it was like. I mean, we're in a very different place now. For a little town like ours, it's actually extremely good. So thank you, everyone.
We didn't have Amanda.
We
That's
didn't have
right.
Amanda. Yeah.
Very, very helpful. Big difference.
Nothing against the mayor here, but we didn't have Amanda.
Yes. Well, I remember before Amanda, I used to try to do some of the stuff myself. It was, no, not good. Not the way to go. So zoning administrator, anything to say? You don't have to say anything.
Just a quick note. Some of you that are in the construction industry in Fairfax County may have noticed that the county has recently gotten rid of their old online system for managing permits. It was very 1990s. It was called Fido. It was clunky, but beloved by all, I think. They started phasing that out, and in earnest tried to migrate all the data over in October, and that did not go well. I don't know if any of you have heard about that. Definitely has caused a lot of delays for a lot of the permitting at the county level. They have switched over to a new online system called Plus, and it's supposed to be much more integrated with the various departments like fire, land development, building permits, all of it together. So I have just started to try to familiarize myself with the new Plus system. And it looks like there's some webinars that I can attend to try to learn a little bit more about that, just because I have definitely relied heavily on Fairfax County to their system online to help me determine just the status of any building or site plan project in town. For example, Amy's project, there's nothing to see online. There's a record there and you can click on it, nothing happens. So there's no link. So that was one of the things that I raised when I contacted the county staff today about her particular project. So that's definitely a work in progress. And I just wanted to let you know that's my effort right now, is to try to get up to speed with the new program now that they seem to have migrated over a lot of the data.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I've heard a lot of horror stories that they went cold turkey from Fido to Plus and things just disappeared. So people were dead in the water and may still be, who had permits, and now they don't have permits and no one knows what's going on. So I think very well intentioned, but it's going to take a little while. Okay, Architecture Review Board. Anything?
Did not meet.
Okay.
Nothing to report.
Streetscape Committee, anything?
I'm not aware of anything new.
Okay. Holiday Homes Tour Report. This is an up. I know I've personally seen the receipts and collections and funds, and I know they were going to the bank and all that. So who is somebody in a position to give more of a report on that? I know it's still going on. That's between Amanda, Nick, Phyllis. I will say this, as best I could tell, more came in than, well, I don't know what went out. I only know what came in.
I thought Lynn was going to be giving the report.
Oh, good. Oh,
Yeah, I was just going to say I received the same update that Nick received. I'm happy just to talk through it, Nick, if you want to just add anything from your financial perspective. But it looks like the gross revenue was just over 3,000. They spent, remember the discussion that we had way back before the tour about the cost of printing came in around $700, and then different supplies. So $1,400 was spent on the tour. So that leaves $1,600 in profit. And the home store splits the profits with the charity that's been identified by the homeowner. And so it looks like $200 was sent to each house's charity of choice.
okay. A couple of questions about that. I could have sworn, I don't remember what's in the book. Does anybody have the tour book handy? I don't know if we do it on our end. I don't remember half of all proceeds going to charities. That I don't remember. And I think it was in the book.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the book.
Okay, it's on the first page.
Says 30% of the proceeds will be donated to each home's charity or nonprofit. So not
that-
50%, 30%.
Right. So is there an explanation?
Nope.
And let me ask this, maybe the funds haven't flowed, in which case this can be easily corrected.
They haven't flown out from my account because I'm doing the rec right now. But Lynn, if you could send me what you have. But my quick
sure.
math here, if you had 1,600, it sounds like you already did the 30% because it would be 240 for each. $1,600 profit, 30% of that's 480 bucks.
Yeah,
And then
and
you said
I
it's about
think
240.
822.37 to be exact was what was sent to charities or what's been designated. I don't know if it's been sent out or not.
Okay,
But I'll forward this on to you, Nick.
Okay.
so I just want to make sure, because this is something that's never been discussed with or necessarily reviewed and approved by the council. So at the very least, I want to do what we said we're going to do in the booklet. And so if we've got, let's call it 3,000, Nick, I'm sure it's not 3,000. I'm sure it's $3,082.14, whatever. Okay. And then there's some cost of $1,409.62, whatever. And you'll subtract one from the other and you'll get a number on the order of approximately $1,600. Okay. And then for better for worse, in the booklet, it says we're going to send 30% of that to charities of people's choice. And I raised this before, but I'll get to it in a minute. Let's just do the math. So 30% of 1,600 is what you said, 480, right? Or approximately 481, whatever. And there are 4 houses. Yeah. So we just got the book. It's right in the book. And
Bill, I sent you an image on your phone of,
sorry. Yeah. Yes, that's what I'm looking at. Right? It's on the first page. It says 30% of proceeds will be donated
yes,
to each homes. Now, it's inartfully worded. It does not mean, I assume, Steve, that 30% will go to each home, therefore 120% of proceeds will go. It obviously means 30% and 70%. 30%, 480. There are 4 houses, is that correct? Yes, we got 4 listed here.
yes.
That's right.
So that's like 1/20th row. And those checks need to come from us, because that's where the money is, right, Nick? Yes? Okay. All right, everybody good? Got it? Yes? All right. Now,
Next.
the concern I have is, what if somebody's chosen charity is the Ku Klux Klan and they're a 501c3? And now the town's sending money to the Klan. Like, I don't know. So it's almost like implied in this, because at the end of the day, the money is coming from the town to these places at the request of the individual, that there needs to be some sort of oversight by the town of where it's going, because I want to be careful with what we do here. Okay. None of this is blowing me away, but anybody have any thoughts on that? Like, I didn't see any money going to the Klan, which is great. But you have to be careful, and it's not clear that individuals could direct the town to distribute monies. Ultimately, it has to be done by the town, although it could be done by the town at the request of the individuals.
Yeah, I feel like if we, just in future years, if we, caveat that the town reserves the right to decline supporting, a charity, a particular charity or whatever, I think that protects us from this kind of a conundrum.
Mhm.
hopefully there are no questionable ones and we can just move past it and protect ourselves going forward from any potential fallout.
Yeah, I'm fine going forward. Thoughts? Like Steve, do you have a thought on that?
No, I think you can assume that the term appropriate charities would be included with regard to a town writing checks to anybody. And if the people who are responsible for writing the checks or monitoring the situation, like you and Amanda and Nick, raise a question, then it could be raised with the council. Other than that, I think it just goes as a normal process.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I wanted the council to be aware of what's going on. I want to make sure that there is a process. We're transparent on what it is. And Daryl, I loved what you said and the way you put that. And Steve making it very pithy with appropriate charity, but Daryl, the town reserves the right. And it is a going forward. I'm not raising an issue about this year. I want to make sure that the math's done right. So if we get any questions, people go, did you do what you say? We go, yeah, we did what we said we would do. Okay. All right. Very good. Anything else?
I think I want to add one more comment to that, and that is in terms of appropriate, we should probably make it clear in the future that, for instance, political charities would not be included. You know, it would be charities for the benefit of individuals as opposed to political charities or issue charities.
Yeah.
That would protect us and it would keep everything simple.
And one of the things I do going forward I would not list the charities in the booklet in case, because they just went in there and we didn't look at them. And if you had an issue, you would create a concern. So we'll just do it with the funds when we're done.
Do we think the whole charity idea is a driver for participation from residents or visitors? Or, would we consider just designating a charity? Or, observation I would make is that I don't know the financial status of the Primitive Baptist Church, but it sounds like they get nothing. I don't know if they could use the money to put a new roof on the place. It's pretty rusty. Or if we just designated that next year and said everything goes to the Primitive Baptist Church.
That would be a lot easier.
Yeah.
But I think that was one of those designated charities this year, right?
It was one of the four. Yes.
Donna designated that for her house.
Good. That's good.
Yeah, I think it's kind of part of the draw of getting homeowners to participate is allowing them to choose what charity, some of the proceeds go to. But having not worked directly on the event myself, I don't know how much of a challenge that would really present if the town selected a list of charities that homeowners could choose from or something of that nature. That way it's pre-approved. Where if we designate a charity and then we find we're running into resistance and getting participants, then, maybe we revisit.
Yeah,
Has
or
anybody
you could
here-
simply say Clifton related charities.
There's a thing called the Combined Federal Campaign Contribution Program through the federal government, and they have maintained a pretty large database of charities for that program. That's for federal employees who want to donate directly
Like from
pre-tax.
their paycheck or whatever.
Yeah. So we might use that, the CFC list as just a starting place, knowing that those charities have probably been
Thoroughly vetted.
through
I have two thoughts on this. One is the idea of Primitive Baptist is an excellent idea because it is a holiday homes tour of traditionally historic homes and historic buildings. And usually that's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that is certainly completely consistent with the idea of the homes tour. My second thought is, if this is a significant driver for people putting their homes on the tour, if this is something that makes them want to participate, then the amounts involved are not worth worrying about with a lot of process. If this is a big deal, if it really helps people who want to be putting their houses on the tour, then for $480 among 4 houses, or even if it's double that, I just let it ride if it's a significant driver for the people putting their homes on the tour. Does
Yeah.
anyone know?
I think it's reasonable though to have a list of pre-vetted charities, and if there's one easily available that folks can pick from, as opposed to just letting people choose and then we are throwing our hands up. You know what I mean? I feel
Yeah,
like
no, we don't want that. We don't
Yeah.
want that.
so
And we don't even want to go through the process. Yeah.
I do think that the concept of having some of the proceeds go to charity really shifts the idea of the event of the town making money, of people opening their homes. It just raises it to a different level. So I do think that there's a significant just a significant shift in the spirit behind the event with the charity involved. I also love the idea of the money going to the Primitive Baptist Church, or that there's one selected charity, that one selected purpose that that the proceeds all go to. That's decided. I think that's you could get a lot of people behind it.
Yeah,
in
that
way.
could equally motivate more people than choose your own charity does.
It
If
could
we-
motivate
if we-
people to buy tickets for the tour. Yeah.
That too, but also it could inspire more people to open their homes up if we select a cause that is popular.
Mhm.
Not saying that the Primitive Baptist Church wouldn't be a popular cause. Maybe it would be, whatever. But maybe each year it's a rotating thing. Who knows?
Well, I'm willing to make a motion if you're ready for a motion. If
I'm ready.
you even
I'm
want-
feeling emotional, Steve.
Yeah, I am. I'm feeling emotional, and I think let's keep this simple.
Yeah.
For the next year, I would propose, I make a motion that we designate the Primitive Baptist Church as the recipient of 1/3 of the profit of any profit that is made by the Homes Tour. And then next year, if we choose to pick another person, another Clifton related charity, we can do that.
Can
But
we,
that gets rid of all this other nonsense, and we don't have to worry about people doing 501c3s or the government lists or any of that.
can we keep the 30% that we've been using, just so it's
Yeah.
consistent?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, sure.
That's approximately what you said, but just, okay.
No
Okay,
repeating
there's-
decimals.
I'm big on consistency. So we tell people we're doing the same thing we did last year. The difference is last year, one of the people did Primitive Baptist, but because of the importance and the needs and da, 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 da. Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Anybody not keen on the concept? Anybody super keen? They love it. And it's only for 1 year, that Steve said, and we'll revisit it again next year. This is just for next year. Okay. Thoughts? Any issues? I don't want anybody uncomfortable. So if you have anything, let me.
While I seconded the motion and I would support it, I'm also open to sending this back to the committee that plans and runs the event to get their input or get their thoughts and make a decision on it next month. Since
Okay.
it's not going to impact the payout this year, it would only impact things going forward.
Okay.
I think that's a great idea, Daryl, just because there's one person behind this event pulling it all together, just leading all the volunteers. So I do think that there's probably a story behind it that we might not necessarily fully know. So I think it's worth pausing.
When I'm running things, or when I'm in a position like that person is, having change forced upon me without giving any input is frustrating. So
I'm willing to withdraw my motion and go with Daryl's suggestion of sending this back to the committee and asking their input. So I withdraw my motion.
Okay. And Amanda, can you remind me to we'll raise this again next month? Because the idea is to send back to the committee to get their input, not to have it disappear. So
yes,
Sure.
I'd like to have, it'd be better if we had some clarity on this.
I agree. I would like to revisit it next month. Lynn, do you think you can speak with the chair of the event and get some input by next month?
Yes, absolutely.
Any other input on this issue before we move on? Okay.
Next.
Replacement of tree in Air Square. I think, Daryl, you wanted to talk a
Yep.
bit about this.
Yeah, I've reached out to Mark. This is a contact from that we got from Kevin Hutto, replaced the tree in city of Manassas. He will come out and take a look. He has not been able to do that yet with the holidays, but he will come out in the next week or so, take a look at the tree, and he'll come to us with some recommendations on
Okay.
species and, you know, timing and things of that nature. So once I have those, I'll share them with the council. While we're on the topic of the tree, though, we did get a request from the lighting company to let them know when we would like the lights removed. They have about 250 customers that they need to remove lights from in the coming days. So they're asking folks that have like homeowners association guidelines or any urgent need to have the lights removed to sort of raise their hand, and folks that are a little more laid back to let them know that, you know, get to us when you can, or, you know, if we have a specific date we want the lights down by, to let them know. So thoughts from the council on this? When I was thinking we're fine through the month of January, but not let it go past the end of January.
I mean, we're not in any big rush. If we could keep them through January 2024, that'd be the way to go.
I got a question from Kevin on how long we want to keep the lights burning, because he can just unplug them.
Oh,
Well, the traditional season runs for 12 days through the 8th of January, right? So I'd say at the first opportunity after the 8th, myself.
Okay. We can certainly have the lights off after that date.
anybody want them on for longer, mid-January or the 10th, or party over on, what is it, the 8th?
I'm not on the council, but I'm a fan of leaving them up as long as, and burning as long as they're up, since you paid for it.
Sure.
Okay. I don't know how much it costs. I have no idea if the utility bill is enormous or tiny. There's some kind of special lights that don't use power.
Well, I think they're all LED at this point, which are very low power consumption.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them, so it's not nothing, but I
Yeah,
don't believe that's a huge concern.
We're not in a rush. We're not in a rush.
One of the options was get to us when you can, so I can.
Yeah, I think if it's the end of January, then we should turn the lights off, you know.
Sure.
If it's spring, it's getting a little ridiculous. But January, I still think of this as the winter holiday season. And instead of January being a bit of a letdown when everyone goes back to work and whatever, you know, we still have the winter cheer. So I'm fine with it. Okay. Any other thoughts on this important subject?
Just in keeping with the last topic is to get the Parks and Beautification Committee involved.
There's just nothing to be involved with yet until we have some sort of proposal, unless the Parks and Beautification want to submit.
If they want to source a proposal, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I just heard mention of some guy named Mark.
Yeah,
tell us. I don't know that the committees are aware of who that is.
Daryl's talked about this a few times before, but people might have forgotten. So why don't you remind everyone?
Yeah. Mark is a local, landscape contractor. He's worked with the city of Manassas and installed the Christmas tree in the city of Manassas. And he came recommended by Kevin Hutto, who organizes the tree lighting every year, the tree lighting festival or, event every year. And so it's literally just one person we're reaching out to for input and a proposal. It was by no means intended to be the only one. And I think, we're open to seeing alternative proposals and would run it past any relevant committees before we vote and make a decision on it.
Well, that'll be this council.
Right.
And as far as Kevin Hutto goes, certainly I have heard that, and I understand that Kevin has agreed that he would fund the cost of the tree, whatever the tree is, within reason.
He has said that in the past. I mean,
Yes,
we, you
I
know, yeah,
understand.
sure.
But my point is, as far as Kevin being integral to this, and Kevin knowing a guy and all that, it's because Kevin has been asking about this for a long time, has done the tree work, and has actually offered to fund the acquisition of the tree, not necessarily the planting, but the acquisition. It's a very important thing to him. And we talked to him, and he said, I have a friend who's a tree guy, and in fact, Manassas had the exact same issue where they needed a new tree. And Mark was the guy they asked to be their tree guru. So we said, maybe Mark can tell us about trees as well. And that's where Mark came from. And Daryl's raised this a couple times in the past on our council meetings. And part of that comes out of, I don't want us to cut the tree down until we have a plan for what to replace it with. And to replace it, we need to know what we're replacing it with. So I've talked to Bill Ferentz, got a couple ideas from him. I will get something from Mark, and it could be that the beautification committee
Parks and beautification, yeah.
Parks and beautification may have a proposed tree as well, but it comes down to what kind of tree, or maybe there's a couple choices. What kind of tree or trees? How big? Where are we getting it?
Yeah.
Okay. So
for what it's worth, I did mention to Mark that the town had adopted a native species policy for new plantings. So he'll be taking that into account. Although I know that may or may not be able to apply to this particular project, just given the nature of what we're looking for. So.
Right. So I don't know, Reagan, Donna may be on as well. Does Parks and Beautification have any thoughts or ideas? The more actual concrete proposals we have that people could tell us about, the better.
Yeah,
So,
and that's why I wanted to be talking about this in January versus just letting another year go by and having a food fight about what happens with the tree.
Yep.
Yeah, there was some research that was done. I think Laura did several years ago. Had the county arborist over and all that kind of stuff. So there was a report that circulated back then. So we could revive some of that and take a look at it. There was talk about doing a holly. There's, opinions on, not opinions of probably the fact that you can't put a new tree exactly where the old one was, because of everything under the ground. And I would note that we'll have to move the electrical in the case that we do replace the tree. But the other thing I put on the table is everybody opposed to the tree? We won't have a tree of this scale.
Yeah.
Is the purpose of replacing it so that we can now decorate it ourselves and avoid the cost?
Yeah.
And then you'll have to have volunteers for that. And eventually it'll either keep growing or it will die. So there's one of those two inevitable things that will happen.
Life does go on, indeed.
And eventually it'll get, too big to get decorated again or not to be replaced. But all those kinds of considerations, in addition to if it is transplanted, there'll need to be a serious watering plan, to increase the chances of it surviving whenever it's planted. So all of that's
You are hitting on all the right points. Why I wanted to make sure we had a plan before we just, went ahead and cut the tree down. Everybody's like, now what do we do?
Yeah.
That we have a real thought through plan. Like, I like holly trees personally. That would be different, but be kind of cool. And hollies are natural, blah, blah, blah. But that's the kind of thing, we get it all out there. And this is going to be reviewed by this council probably over 2 or 3 meetings ad nauseum, to the point of nausea, where you'll be like, are we still talking about a stupid tree? And the point of that will be when the tree comes down, people will complain, and the holly tree goes in, people go, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Say, we talked about this for 3 months. You could have come, you could have said whatever you wanted. We had lots of meetings. We went through it. We really thought through it. Here it is. Have a nice day. Okay. I want to make sure that we do this right, because it is an important space and an important tree.
Also, since Reagan mentioned the electrical, I will point out there's apparently a fault in the underground wire that runs to the outlet by the tree. So the natural time to get that fixed would be when the tree itself is replaced. Currently, Kevin put up ran an extension cord for the lights. So we'll leave that in place, and yeah, conveniently, we'll have to rerun the electric anyway.
I wouldn't mind having the plan for this done by like end of spring. And then we take the tree down, and there's no tree, and then we plant the new tree. Apparently fall is tree time. But we're doing this in a very orderly way, as Daryl said, that we don't end up rushed and, you know, we're running around doing things we don't want to do, that we do it right. Okay. Any more about the tree for now? That's good. Parks and beautification, you know, Reagan, talk to the folks, come on in, and that way there will be something else to look at. I'm all for it. Okay.
Sounds great. Sounds great.
Just one more thing to add to that idea is the idea of really designing out the entire space, and it not just being about the tree, but about Air Square and what that's going to look like, you know, especially if there's going to be an investment that goes into, you know, landscaping around the tree or whatever it might be. But we had discussed this a while back of what would the future Air Square look like. That could be integrated with this concept of take the tree down and people will start talking, and, you know, then we can, you know, really pull some ideas together on what that might look like in a larger sense.
I can mention that to Mark as well.
Certainly, certainly welcome that. Just want to make sure that redoing Air Square doesn't get in the way of doing the tree. We know we think we want to do something with the tree. And if we can have a plan for Air Square, that's good too. I know Donna's talked about a clock of some sort. People have talked about overtime signs. If you go to Middleburg or other places, they have tasteful directional signage, even a little map of the town. So lots of things you could do that have been talked about over the years. Certainly welcome proposals along those lines. But let's for one thing, for sure, let's make sure we move forward on proposals, ideas for the tree.
Yeah.
Okay, and Amanda, let's have this on the agenda again.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Don't be shy. Abstentions? All right, everybody. Take care. Have a wonderful New Year's.
Have a good evening.
All that.
Take care,
Happy
all.
New Year, everybody. Bye.
Right.
Hi.